right? Before you get home from school, there will be someone every day waiting for you. That is God. Now, the key to approaching that reality in the right way will be for us to keep the right heart. Okay? Now, many of us will remember what I said to you today, or before I even said it, most of you were aware of it, but most of you remember that God is waiting for you. That God is a God of grace and mercy. He is love and he is waiting for you. But what causes us to get tired of that reality? What causes us to get tired of hearing that? Like, Pastor, stop saying that. Like, I'm tired of like feeling guilty and like I'm not enough. And what causes us to take God's love for granted and sometimes even rebel against it, run away from it? You know, if you think about it, a lot of us do it to our parents too. We do the same thing to our parents. We take our parents' love for granted just because it's there all the time. Right? What do I always say? Familiarity breeds contempt. Oh, someone said it. Joey. Yeah. Familiarity breeds contempt. Right? Just because it's there all the time. It's so faithful. It's so loyal. You take it for granted. And then you'll even rebel against it. Right? And what causes this wicked heart? It's really messed up when you think about it. And a lot of times as we like grow into that, we become like it becomes way too familiar, and we take it for granted, and we even start being like just like disrespectful and just so like unappreciative, right? And then it takes something like serious for us to kind of snap out of it and to like be like, oh man, what was wrong with me? Like, why didn't I, maybe like you might have a parent, God forbid, and I pray this doesn't happen, but maybe like one of your parents, they have like some serious health issues or something, and then it just like snaps you out of it. Like, man, what's wrong with me? Why was I so ungrateful? Right? Now, most of you will experience that when you have your own kids, and your own kids are giving you hell. Right? And you're like, oh man, I was the same way to my parents. And you'll start appreciating your parents more. But how can we keep the right heart in these relationships with our parents, with God? I believe that learning to give to our parents, to God, with the right heart helps us to maintain the right heart in terms of like keeping a good relationship with God and even others. Okay, and so with that, I want us to look at Luke chapter 21 today. Okay, Luke chapter 21, verses 1 through 4. Okay, it says this. So, okay, so they're there at the temple, right? Jesus, the disciples are kind of observing what's going on, right? He says, he looked up and saw the rich dropping their offerings into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow dropping in 2 tiny coins. Truly, I tell you, Jesus said, the poor widow has put in more than all of them. For all these people have put in gifts out of their surplus or excess, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she had to live on. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Okay, so this is what's going on, right? So Jesus, the disciples are at the temple. They're in like the courtyard. They're just sitting, right? Jesus probably like teaching and things like that. And then, but there's these like big offering boxes. Okay, so we have these like little bags, right? Like they don't make any noise, but they had these big offering, chests, right? Where there's this like, so there's like the box, and then there's this like big metal like trumpet shape thing where they would put their the offering in, right? And so you would be able to hear exactly how much people are giving. right? And so there would be like really wealthy people that would come and just drop tons of like, just like heavy metal coins, and then it would make all kinds of noise, right? I don't want to make those noises. I think I made like a really racist joke the last time we talked about this passage, but anyway, just imagine, right? The cling, 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 cling. So all the sounds that would resonate from that trumpet shaped metal chest that they would put the money into. And as it's like making all that noise, has anyone ever done like Coinstar or anything before? You take like your piggy bank and then you put it in that big machine and it makes all that noise. Usually they have it at like the grocery store or something, and it makes all that noise that's just like counting the change, right? So just like imagine that, and the people, they're like, whoa, Zion, he probably gave like $1,000, right? Right? Or like, just as like people come and drop their change, like people would be like impressed by it. All right. And they were really like designed in that way, for people to be able to see and know like just how much like people are giving. And so just imagine a scene where like a bunch of like wealthier people, they drop in a ton of change, and then people are like, wow, that's impressive, man. And then here comes this poor old widow, was probably homeless, right? Because in those times, it would be the man that would work and make the money. And so if she was a widow, didn't have a husband, she didn't have a source of income, and if there's nobody taking care of her, she's probably homeless, right? So here comes this poor old homeless lady. In the midst of all that noise and the oohs and the ahs, she just drops in like 2 pennies, and then walks away. No one probably noticed her. If anyone noticed her, they were probably like being really condescending, like, "Oh, look at her! She just dropped 2 pennies." Like, and we kind of struggle with a similar attitude even in church today, right? Where we'll give big donors the best seats. I've literally seen this happen, like in other churches where the front row is like reserved for the big donors, the people that donate like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, like to the church, right? And when they make like big donations, they'll like call them up to the front and like announce it to the church, and everybody will like clap and applaud and stuff. And there will be like rooms that will be dedicated to the people, right? Like I don't think we do this at GMC, thankfully, but I've been to churches where like the library was built off of somebody's donation, so that library will be named after them, right? Like in honor of so and so, right? And so just imagine that scene where people are, giving the big donors their flowers and the appreciation and things like that. And then just here comes this little old lady, 2 pennies, and like nobody really notices. But who notices? Jesus. Jesus. And now I'm not like trying to bash the wealthier people, because I'm sure it was well intentioned, right? Like I'm sure like we have people in the church that tithe faithfully, right? And maybe that was their faithful tithing, or it was a gracious donation for like temple renovation or something like that, right? And I'm sure that the temple could have used that money for a lot of good things, right? To help a lot of people. But Jesus notices this little old lady who, like maybe that was just the money, all the money she had to maybe buy like a loaf of bread for that day, right? Maybe this money couldn't have built like a whole nother wing or a library or something to the church, and all it could afford is just like a loaf of bread. But Jesus notices that offering. Now, why does this mean so much more to God? Something that's equivalent to like a little loaf of bread compared to like a brand new sanctuary in the church. How could that little loaf of bread amount mean more to God? Right? What type of God do we worship, guys? Is he the type of person to sit up front with the important people, to shake hands with the elite, to take pictures with the wealthy donors, and for everyone to see that, oh, these are the important people? Or is Jesus the type of person to go to the back, to the person who feels like they don't deserve to be there, right? Who are like, they're barely trying to be noticed because they don't feel like they're good enough or holy enough or give enough or have enough gifts or whatever to be there? Is he not the person to be among the broken, the tired, the weary, the poor, the sick, the addicts, the outcasts, the people that no one likes or wants to hang out with? Why did Jesus oppose the smugness of the prideful, the arrogant, the rich, the wealthy, the proud, the comfortable? Why does Jesus say, when you give in secret? Right? When you give, don't come here and throw all your coins into this device that's like designed to basically like help you to show off. Like when you give, do it in secret. Jesus says, don't even let your right hand know what the left hand is doing. Be so secretive about your giving to God that like your other hand doesn't even know what the other hand just did. Don't be loud about it like these people. Why does Jesus say that? Because all of man's pride, all that we have, that we are prideful of outside of God, is not a solid foundation. It's not based on anything, like we talked about for those of you that were here yesterday. It's not based on anything of eternal value and worth. It is based on things that are temporary and they're going to burn up and they're not going to last. And have you guys ever known someone who thinks that they're him or her, right? Like they're the stuff, right? But no one else thinks that way about them. Like they're the only one that thinks that, right? You guys know anybody like that? You know, like the way they act and the way they carry themselves, like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm the man. But nobody else thinks that way. Right? Hey, shh, don't name anybody. Shh. But in reality, before God, we are all poor. We are all unintelligent, right? We like to troll each other like, oh, you're going to go to MC, right? But before God, we're all stupid. We're all stupid. We're all weak. We're all broken. That's why Jesus said, when he came, he said, I have come for the sick, to heal the sick. So was Jesus just talking about like a select people? Like, was Jesus talking about like a certain type of people that are sick and then everyone else is healthy? No, Jesus is saying, y'all are all sick, right? You all need saving. And so what he was doing is, when he was saying, I'm here for the sick, what he's doing is he's like pointing at the Pharisees, right? The self-righteous, the people that think, I'm him. And saying, right, you're not going to seek the healer because you don't realize that you're sick. That's the problem. Right? He's not saying that, oh, only some people are sick and others aren't. He's saying you're all sick, but some of you don't realize that you're sick. So what about me? Okay, now point to yourself. What about me? Am I sick? Am I broken? Now, even if you're saying it, if you're able to say, yeah, I'm sick, I'm broken, do you mean that? Do you really mean it when you say that? Because Jesus became the perfect sacrifice so that we could bring our broken offering. Yeah, that just like flew over some of your heads. Okay. Jesus became the perfect sacrifice so that we could bring our broken offering. So that we could come as we are, as our broken, sick selves. Guys, what does the Bible tell us? The wages of sin is what? Yeah. The cost of sin. All right, anybody in here sinless, without sin? Anyone perfect? Go ahead, raise your hand. Okay, good. All right, no one's delusional. Okay, good. All right, we're all in sin, okay? And the cost of sin is death. Why? Heaven is what? Perfect. God is perfect. Okay, so can any sin, even just one little sin, can it exist in perfection? No, because then it's not perfect anymore. Right? And so sin necessarily, logically separates us from that, separates us from God, from perfection. And so if we're no longer connected, fully connected to the source of life and everything that is good, then we're now subject to what? Death. Okay? Right? God is the source of life. If anybody has discovered any source of life outside of God, please let me know. Okay? And so what did God do early on? He allowed animal sacrifices as a temporary covering, okay? But there needed to be a perfect sacrifice, wide enough, big enough, deep enough to cover all sins for all time, a perfect sacrifice to restore us to our perfect state in heaven. Right? Our perfect relationship in heaven. To walk with God again. Like Adam and Eve did in Eden, the Garden of Eden. Okay? But in order to exist eternally, forever, in perfection, we need to be what? To be in perfection, we need to be perfect. Perfect. Okay, again, let me ask you, who is perfect? Anybody? Jesus alone, guys, Jesus alone, through his perfect sacrifice, made us perfect, not because we're perfect or we did anything to earn that or achieve that, right? We're not. We're all broken. We're all sinful. We're all subject to death. But Jesus paid the perfect sacrifice so that we could be made perfect and then come to God as we are. Right? So Jesus has made it so that I can come before God. Okay, first of all, this wouldn't have been possible before, right? Because I am not perfect. I am in sin. And so I got to hang out with death. That's all I can do, right? But Jesus has made it so that when I come before God in my brokenness, in my imperfection, in all my flaws, I don't have to say like, oh my gosh, like God, like, I don't know if I can even like be here. I don't know if I could even be like talking to you. Like, God, I'm pretty sure you know what I've been struggling with, the things that I've been like looking at, like the addictions that I have. Like, I'm pretty sure you know all these things. Like I don't even know if I could like be in this place. But that's where Jesus' perfect sacrifice comes in. And it covers us, and it allows us in our brokenness, in all of our addictions, and all of our struggles to come before God and to come near to him. Right? To be able to be in that place. And so we need to get out of that perfectionist mindset. And we need to get used to bringing our broken offering. Okay? Turn to a neighbor. Say, let's get used to bringing our broken offering. All right, now, point to yourself. Say, get over yourself. Right? I know that this is not the way our world operates. Right? Our world operates in a very legalistic way, in a very performative way. Right? Where you need to perform a certain way to earn things in life. The titles, the statuses, the wealth, the whatever, right? The things that you want, it doesn't just come to you. You've got to earn it. But we need to get rid of that mindset. Right? That's not the way that God works. Right? It's like, oh, I gotta finish my 1-year Bible plan for this year, and then I can be like good with God. Or I don't know, if you're like the worship team, it's like when they were preparing for the retreat and they were like struggling to pray and like they were being distracted by things, and the enemy is trying to, distract them and get in the way of them being able to like lead people in like, good, genuine worship at the retreat. And if they were in that mentality of like, oh, because I've been like a miserable sinner and I've been distracted and I've been tempted and I haven't been praying, that I'm not going to be able to like lead people well at the retreat. Right? And then you let that get to you. That's not the way that God works. Right? God says, okay, I see you. You're broken. You're struggling. But come and let me show you what I can do through you. Right? Let me show you my power, my perfection, my ability. And so we need to get over ourselves, guys, and we need to shed ourselves of that like perfection mindset, that performance-based mindset when it comes to God. Because if you don't do that, if you don't shed yourself of that mindset, if you don't get over yourself, you are basically saying that Jesus' sacrifice was not enough. Right? If my standing with God, if me coming to God, if me drawing near to God is based on how I've been performing, then what I'm saying is, Jesus, your sacrifice wasn't enough. Right? Now, does anybody want to say that? Like, nobody actually thinks that, right? But that's what you're essentially saying when you do that. Right? Now, on the other hand, if you come before God and you realize, oh man, I am so broken, I am so sick, like I'm so sinful, man, these like struggles, the addictions, like man, I'm gross. Where's my cross? But Jesus, he died for that on the cross. And so even though I'm disgusting, because of that, I'm going to approach God. I'm going to go to God. I'm going to go to that retreat. I'm going to play my heart out on the keys or the drums, right? I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to Saturday activity. I'm going to do these things because of the cross, because of Jesus' sacrifice. Right? Bringing my broken offering says that Jesus is enough. Right? It says that I'm not capable and I don't need to bring a perfect sacrifice because Jesus has done that. Let me give you guys an example, okay? I'm sorry, I know I'm going kind of long, but just stick with me, okay? I think this is really important for us to get, all right? Let's say it's my birthday. My birthday's coming up soon. Turning the big 4-0, 40. Right? Oh, ugh, hate it, right? Now, what kind of gift should I expect from my son, Hajun? What does he owe me? He owes me a lot, right? All the years that I've poured into that little guy, right? All the years we had to put in like hours, guys, doing this, hours every day to like get him to sleep, right? For like the whole first year of his life, right? All that I've sacrificed for that little guy. Well, he's not little anymore, but he owes me a lot. And I know some of you feel this way, right? Man, my parents have sacrificed so much for me. I don't know if you guys remember like JJ's testimony at the retreat. That was a tearjerker, right? Put that knot in your throat. I'm sure some of you guys have felt that way. It's like, man, my parents have done so much for me, and like, what have I done? What can I give? Right? When I used to work part-time jobs when I was younger, I used to work at like the Gap, and like at a gas station at one point, things like that, like a warehouse at one point. And I used to give like 60% of my paycheck to my mom. just to because I was so thankful, and I always felt like indebted to my parents, right? But as a parent, as Hajin's dad, I know that he's not capable of giving me what I deserve. Right? It would be stupid for me to expect that. Okay? Not only do I know that he doesn't have that kind of money, but I also know, and listen very carefully, guys, I know that there will be seasons in his life. I call it the sheki-itis, right? For those of you that aren't Korean, I don't know how to say that. How do you say that in English? Like brat-itis, right? Just acting a brat, okay? Just ungrateful little brat. I know that there will be seasons where he's just going through it. Right? He's not thinking about me. He's not thinking about other people. He's just thinking about himself. He just wants to have fun. Right? You guys have all been there, right? Like literally 50 times a day. You're like, I'm bored. Me. Right? You've been through that. And I understand that. I understand that my son will go through those seasons. And so how foolish would it be for me to expect the best in those times? Right? Sometimes Hajin's best will just be being there. And there will be seasons where he won't even be there. But sometimes his best might just be just showing up. Right? Sometimes his best will be pretty bad. Other people might look from the outside and be like, man, what's wrong with that boy? You know, someone should spank him. So I understand. Sometimes he might be in that phase where he's like, saves up the little that he has to get me something nice. But there might be times where he doesn't have any money. He didn't save up, so he just makes me a card. Right? If you guys want to see one, it's in my office. But there might be times where he doesn't give me anything. But the Father's heart is that he would come as he is. The Father's heart is that their child would come as they are. There will never be a time where I'm like, Haji, you didn't give me what I deserve. You're not coming to my birthday party, right? You're not going to eat these big juicy steaks with us. Get out, right? The Father's heart is going to be like, okay, all right, he's going through it right now. He's got that itis, but I want him to be at the table, to sit with me and enjoy that meal with me. That's the Father's heart. And that is the same heart that God has for all of you, for all of us, even in 2026. No matter what you've been doing in 2025, that is the Father's heart in 2026. And so, in closing, can we desire to honor the Father's heart? Right? Forget about how you want things to be. Forget about your standards for yourself. Forget about the bars that you set for yourself, for your own life. No, I need to reach this certain point. Right? You do it academically. You do it as a student. You do it as an athlete. But a lot of us do it even as a Christian. No, I need to reach this certain point before I can be good with God. Can we stop doing that and just honor what God wants? Right? Why do we let our own standards that don't even line up with what God wants get in the way of our relationship with God? I want us to not do that in 2026. And I want us to just honor what God wants, because that is what Jesus died for. That is what Jesus died for, so that we could come running home as lost sons and daughters, so that we could come to God with our broken offering as broken people. Okay? And so just give you some practical examples going into 2026, right? How do we do this on a daily basis, right? Maybe you got up late in the morning, right? Maybe you're in 2026, I'm going to wake up a little bit early, and before school, I'm going to do my quiet time. But maybe you got up a little late, and you didn't have time to do that devotional. And so you say, God, let me give you what I can. on this bus ride. Right? Maybe I can't bust out my Bible right now, but let me just put in my earbuds, open up the Bible app, and just listen to the Bible as I go to school. Maybe you were like, you know what, God, I'm gonna spread the gospel this year. I'm gonna tell some of my friends about you. But you failed and you failed, right? You're like, you had that moment. You saw the opening. Like, okay, this is it right here. They're telling me about their struggles. This is a perfect opportunity to tell them about Jesus, to pray for them. And then you punked out. You didn't do it. And you're beating yourself up like, I was a coward again, So you go to a quiet place and say, God, I failed again, didn't do it, but let me just pray for them. Let me just pray for that friend. And let me pray for courage. Maybe in 2026, you're like, okay, I just want to have a good relationship with my sibling. I just don't want to fight with my siblings. For those of you that don't have siblings, I want to have a good relationship with my parents. I don't want to fight with my parents so much this year. But you will fight again, right? You'll have those moments again. But instead of drowning in that self-pity and being prideful about your failure, which is very ironic, it's like, beating yourself up because you had higher expectations for yourself. Go to your room. You say, God, I'm sorry. Right, here I am in my failure. I did it again, but here I am. Help me. Help me. Right. Maybe you were planning on finishing your homework a little bit early to spend time with God, but you procrastinated, you got distracted, and it's really late, right? It's like 10:30, 11, 12 o'clock, some of you 1, 2 o'clock, and you're tired and you have no motivation to spend time with God like you were planning to. And so, you wash up and you're just laying in bed and you're like fighting the temptation to like go on your phone, but you're like, okay, I'm gonna just lay this phone down. And God, I don't even have the motivation to like sit up and like pray. I'm just going to lay here and I'm going to give you what I can right now. And I'm just going to talk to you. You say, God, I'm sorry for being like this. And I know that you deserve so much more. But I'm going to give you what I can right now. Here's my broken offering.